live. There we go. Yes, everything is okay. Hi, everyone. Hello. Welcome to this channel that maybe some of you aren't used to coming over to. YouTube.com/MrWarrenHayes, because right here tonight, I am taking over for the Fightful NWA into the Fire post show. And I'm MrWarrenHayes, of course. Welcome here. We're doing this essentially because, well, you guys probably already know about all this stuff that's happening over on the Fightful YouTube account. If you haven't, well, Sean has many recaps, a lot of stuff set up where he's gone through the whole thing. Essentially, you can look it up on Twitter and on Fightful.com. Go check that out. You know, the shows, everything that we've done in the past is still archived there on Fightful.com or at FightfulPods.com. You can check it out there. I'm not going to get into it. Sean's on the case regardless, but you can go check it out if you're not quite sure why you're here or what's going on exactly. But we hope that everything will settle up really soon and that we'll get back to streaming full-time over at Fightful.com, YouTube.com/Fightful, In the meantime, if you want, you can subscribe to YouTube.com/SRS Wrestling. That's Sean's channel. Just like this is my channel. SRS Wrestling is Sean's, doesn't belong to Fightful, but he's doing some streaming over there. I'm doing some streaming over here. Trying to keep everything flowing as naturally for all of you who support Fightful through all of this, and we appreciate all your support. And another way, and if you want to keep showing support for Fightful, the best way to do it is to head on over to Fightful Select. You can get a whole bunch of extra content. You can get all sorts, tons of stuff, tons and tons of stuff, extra content that you can't get off of Fightful. You get Q&A sessions with Sean. You get Alex Pulowski's Sour Graps, the only wrestling review show that positions itself very clearly as entirely negative. You get Steven Jensen, who does the Weekender Report, where he talks about everything not related to WWE or AEW. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. Go check that out, and it remains the best way to show support for Fightful. I know a lot of you may be used to super chats and stuff like that, but there's none of that on my end. So really head on over to FightfulSelect.com. And we're going to get into NWA Into the Fire, their first pay-per-view since launching the Power show, the weekly YouTube show over on their YouTube channel, which is still alive and going. But yeah, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. There's a couple of things that happened tonight, didn't they? But we'll get to it. We'll get to it. I can see you guys in the chat. A lot of you are excited about it. Got to tell you, I'm a little surprised myself. But let's get to it. We're gonna start. This was the first show that had Stu Bennett, the former Wade Barrett, on commentary. Again, off of the release of Jim Cornette. Again, or the resignation, right? I'm not going to get into all those details. It's been covered. It's been talked about. I got to tell you, I mean, you can do a lot worse than Stu Bennett, for sure. Bennett hasn't been really involved in wrestling in any way, shape, or form since leaving WWE. But one thing's for sure. Well, he has done some stuff like for the former What Culture Pro Wrestling, WCPW. That's right, WCPW/Defiant. I know he did some stuff over there. If memory serves me right, he was their GM for a while. But he's been very much on the outskirts. So, I mean, good for him. It's good. I like him. I've always liked his presence. I like what he's a fantastic talker. You can do a lot worse than Stu Bennett, but got to tell you, in the NWA environment, which is, it's very locally based in Atlanta, Georgia, having Bennett's deep British accent accompanied with his baritone, his deep baritone, sort of changes the dynamic a little bit, but still, nonetheless, I thought it meshed very, very well with Joe Gali. I like the little tweaks that they brought to the presentation tonight, just to make it feel like it was a pay-per-view. I mean, they're still in the same studio setting for Power, but they did do some tweaks. Instead of the well, first and foremost, there was entrance music for the wrestlers. That already there is a plus. But then on top of that, they had them come down from the top of the rafters down the stairs and into the ring, as opposed to usually they just come out from behind the curtain and wave and get into the ring. So a little extra something to add to the production value, just to make it feel a little more special. I liked it. Man, I don't know if you guys noticed or if it dawned on you, but the NWA ring was really loud tonight. Like, it was really, really loud. I mean, as many of you know, if you, I'm not a big fan of the overuse of chin locks and whatnot, but holy crap, when the rest holds set in, they weren't just a rest for the wrestlers. They were a rest for my eardrums at the same time. They were a welcome break. But then at the same time, you know, the ring, just because it sounded so loud, it also sounded very, very fierce. It sounded mean, unforgiving. So it just added a little something there. I thought, but at first it was really, really distracting. First match we're going to talk about, Eli Drake defeating Ken Anderson in a solid opener. Anderson hits a rolling Samoan drop, easy Samoan drop slam early on. Drake avoids an air raid crash. Anderson goes up top, and Drake quick like a cat goes and meets him up top. He tries to go for a superplex, but Anderson blocks it. Anderson tries to powerbomb Drake then, but instead Drake just drops down to his knees, keeping his shoulders, keeping his knees on Anderson's shoulders, basically pinning him and getting the win a little bit out of nowhere. It was fine. It was fine. It was a quick match, good warm up. The crowd was hot. The crowd was ready. Well, the NWA Power crowd every week is, and I know it's taped. It's fine, but the crowd is always hot for NWA. It was super hot tonight. They were ready for a match. The match wasn't very long. I thought the right man won. I think Eli Drake has a lot of upside, and there's a lot of benefit to him having a push, as opposed to just about anyone else, really. He's a fantastic talker. He's a great worker. I think we only saw just a smidgen of what he's able to do here, because he had some really good matches in Impact. So I thought that this was fine. Of course, this would not be the end of it. We'll talk about that when we get there. Dave Marquez is standing by, and he welcomes Nick Aldis. Dave Marquez is bringing back the long-lost art of the wrestling straight man interviewer, where his job is essentially to feed a line to a wrestler so that the wrestler can bounce off of it, but he does it with a certain, he doesn't overwhelm. His personality isn't huge. It doesn't become about him because it's not about him, it's about the wrestlers. But he does it in a way that's extremely charming, that's full of personality nonetheless. Dare I say, a little like a certain Mean Gene Okerlund, where he does have a color to him. He's not a post. He's not a mic stand, but he also gives the wrestlers more than enough room to breathe. And that in about itself is a lost art these days. Nick Aldis gives a great rah speech about the NWA. I'm being facetious. Just kidding. It was really good. It was it's a promo that he kind of gave before on the first night of Power. he really got the crowd whipped into a frenzy. So that was really good. Second match of the evening that we had was Tasha Steelz, or actually Thunder Rosa defeating Tasha Steelz. Steelz has been wrestling since 2016. Her main stomping ground is Women's Wrestling Revolution. She had a bit of experience in Ring of Honor, wrestled a couple of matches in Impact as well. She cuts a promo before the match starts, which I think was a smart thing to do, since a lot of people are unfamiliar with her. Just give her a little personality, make her come across as she's not necessarily to be considered a jobber. And she says that she's finally here to add some flavor to the NWA. I can get behind that. It was a brief but really kick-ass promo. I thought it was very, very brief and very effective. I think Steelz is a good call for the women's division. Thunder Rosa's chops, man, they are sharp. Boy, oh boy, when she laid into Steelz. She hits a hesitation drop kick while Steelz is caught up in the tree of woe. The tree of woe. I'm okay, guys. Trust me. She does. Thunder Rosa does a carrying Romero special. So basically sets up the surfboard, but instead of laying on her back, she sort of lifts her opponent up and walks around with her. I thought that was neat. Thunder Rosa gets the win on Steelz and starts beating her up some more until Ashley Vox runs in to try and make the save, but that's no good. Thunder Rosa gets the upper hand and overextends her elbow. So at this point, Ashley Vox's condition for her tag team match later on in the evening is questionable. Again, this was a short match, but I liked it. I thought it was fine. And Thunder Rosa keeps coming across as a star. She is so good. Her strikes are phenomenal. You can tell that the MMA training that she has is carrying well into wrestling. When she throws knees, when she throws strikes, they look good. They look hard. I'm okay with it. Next, we had the question mark, accompanied to the ring by Student Stevens, because it has been revealed that Aaron Stevens is now a student of Mongrovian Karate. So Stevens accompanies his sensei, question mark, with a gi. Not only with the gi, but with a black belt. That's right. Aaron Stevens, maybe like 3 weeks into taking up Mongrovian Karate, is a black belt in Mongrovian Karate. Third Dan, if they call them Dans in Mongrovian Karate. I'm editorializing here. I'm not quite sure. Perhaps I'm being a little presumptuous. So to me, like, probably a lot of you are saying, well, Mongrovian Karate is phony, Warren. It doesn't exist. Of course Aaron Stevens would get a black belt for a phony style of fighting. Well, to you I say, well, how do you know it's phony? Maybe Aaron Stevens is just a natural at Mongrovian Karate. Maybe he is the second coming of the question mark. Maybe he is the next great master. You don't know these things. Anyway, they come to the ring. Aaron Stevens is with him, takes the microphone with the question mark, and he tells the audience that it is time for the question mark to perform for the very first time on American soil the Mongrovian flag dance, accompanied by a rendition of the Mongrovian national anthem. He also adds to the fact that the question mark was the 1992 a cappella champion of Monrovia. Question mark starts to sing the anthem in a guttural throat type rendition. Trevor Murdoch interrupts. He wants his match. But we have the flag unfurled in the background, right? We have the flag which corresponds to the colors of the question mark's gear. There's an ostrich. And if we're breaking this down a little bit, and you know with me, right? It's all about the details. Attention to detail is very, very important. So from what I'm understanding about the very secretive nation of Monrovia, their official colors are green and white, and they apparently have two official animals as well. They have an ostrich and what appears to be an armadillo with a horn. A unadillo is what I have decided to baptize the animal. And it turns out there's a question mark on the flag. So the question mark isn't really a question mark. He's not like he's not celebrating punctuation. He's in fact wearing the symbols of his country. Just like Rocky Balboa wore Stars and Stripes trousers when he fought Drago. Question mark wears a question mark on his head as a symbol of pride for his country. I think this is all magnificent. So Trevor Murdoch comes down, like I said, he interrupts. He's got enough of all these shenanigans. There's a lot of these phony baloney karate strikes. I love it. Until Murdoch gets in with some chops. He hits a missile drop kick. Murdoch actually goes up to the top rope, and there's a flag carrier there with the Mongrovian question mark mask holding the flag outside the ring. And Trevor Murdoch grabs the flag and tosses it, to which the audience responds with boos. They did not like that. It was a heel thing to do, Trevor. I don't know what you're trying to do, but clearly you're disrespecting another culture that the NWA fans want to know more about, actually support. This allows Aaron Stevens to run some interference, and Murdoch eats the double spike to the throat. Question mark gets the win. All this silliness aside, I really, really love how the question mark leans into these absurd, foreigner gimmicks or foreign fight styles. There, more like it, that were very prevalent in the 80s, where you had a guy like Nikolai Volkov, who wasn't really Russian, but, acted and played the part and tried to come up with these mannerisms. This is clearly what they're aping here. It's a love letter to these things, where he's doing these karate chops that no real karate practitioner would say, yes, you're spot on here. But we're driving the fact we're driving it so hard, driving the fact so hard that this is karate, and we're accepting it as such. And he's just because he's winding up before giving like a throat slash. Oh, he's this master. He's this karate master. I love this. It's just, it's a love letter to over the top wrestling characters that we were supposed to buy in at the time because of kayfabe, and we likely did. I thought this was fantastic. I love the question mark, and clearly, the live audience loves the question mark as well. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this live right now on my channel here, youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, think about giving a like to the video. That always helps, gets the word out a little more, and feel free to share it out on your social media as well. The more the merrier is how the old cliche goes, because I couldn't think of anything more original to say. The Rock and Roll Express defended successfully their NWA Tag Team Championships against the Wild Cards. They come to the ring with Eddie Kingston and Homicide, while Wild Card are accompanied by the Dawsons. You know what? I like this match more than I thought I was going to like this match. It worked out really well. I thought there was this one moment where they had there was an opening spot with Latimer and Gibson, which was a little iffy. They were doing where they were doing like hop over spots with Gibson and not just Latimer, with Isaacs as well. And I thought it was a little it came across, it was contrived, of course, but it was a little rough on execution, and I don't think the effect they wanted out of it was achieved. There was a Death Valley Driver powerbomb combination by the Wild Cards, which was really cool. Royce Isaacs goes for the cover, but he isn't the legal man, and I like that. I like that in the situation where the referee's like, no, dude, you didn't tag in, go over, get out of the ring. And I liked how, the Wild Cards were like, oh yeah, okay, you think we can't tag ourselves in? Instead of just having Latimer run in and cover, Isaacs went back to the corner, Latimer got back into the ring, tagged Isaacs back in, and then Isaacs went back for the cover. I like that little tidbit, a little arrogant right there. I like that. And I also like the fact that the referee was paying attention long enough to be like, no, this isn't going to fly. So that's also really good. A lot of talk about referees and tag teams these days. Ricky Morton hits his dive. He hits his Canadian Destroyer. I've seen that quite a bit now this year, because I've seen it in GCW. I've seen it on AEW. I've seen it in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's kind of lost its luster by now. I mean, not to take anything away from a 60-year-old pulling Canadian Destroyers and doing suicide dives. I'm not taking anything away, but at this point I've seen it. Everyone starts fighting on the outside. When I say everyone, I'm talking about the Dawsons and Homicide and Kingston, but the cameras aren't picking it up. The camera work was a little iffy here, and I'm going to give them a bit of leeway. They don't have the production value that the WWE has. It's not the same setup, and they don't usually do live shows. So there were a couple of blown spots here by production throughout the evening, but we did miss the finish here, where Isaacs got distracted by everything that was happening on the outside and gets rolled up for the win. Outside of that, like I said, this match was above anything I thought was going to happen. Surprised that the Rock and Roll Express retained. I thought they were going to flip that back, but good if they keep good on them if they keep this one going. I'm going to tell you, Ricky Morton right now, he is the Rock and Roll Express. He's doing all the work. Gibson is, and there's probably very good reasons for it, but Robert Gibson is just not in there. We're back on pay-per-view on January 24th. In a little over a month. Back on pay-per-view for the NWA, and they will be bringing back the television title. And I think I'm okay with that. They brought out the old title, still looks really good. But I'm still going to take a minute to try and process this and just get a better look at everything, because right now NWA already has a mid-card title in the national title. They're adding another mid-card title in there on top of the tag team titles. Is it already too much for the size of the roster? I'm not sure, because on the other hand, NWA is very, very focused on the wrestling aspect. So you want your wrestlers to wrestle for wrestling reasons, correct? Oh, correct. So maybe that, it kind of makes sense on that point as well. If you're going to have your wrestlers feud, might as well have them feud for titles, right? Eli Drake then comes out to talk to Marquette. He's basically looking to position himself as the number one contender, and he says that Ken Anderson tonight, he saw what was going on. He came to the ring. He came to fight me, looking to pump my gas. And he said, pump my gas once too many times starting to make it feel uncomfortable. Anyway, Anderson punks him and attacks him, wraps a chair around his neck, drives him into the post. This feud is not over. Allison Kane and a surprise partner defeated Melina and Marty Bell. It was revealed then that Ashley Vox was injured, could not compete in this tag team match. Allison Kane came down alone. Melina and Marty Bell were asking her to forfeit the match because they didn't want to do a 2-on-1. But Allison Kane was ready because she had a surprise partner in ODB hitting the ring, coming down with her flask. And I thought this was a very solid match, especially the parts where Kay and Bell were going at it. Allison Kay has some great Stone Cold-esque stomps. She really does. They look really, really good. She takes Bell over rather decisively until a double team puts Allison Kay as your babyface in peril for most of the match. But ODB eventually does get the hot tag in, comes in with some shoulder tackles and a great fall-away slam, hits her Bronco Buster, getting all the hits in, and Allison Kay gets the MK Ultra in on for the win. And that was that. Not the longest match, but super, super effective. Will not hide the fact that Allison Kay and ODB, let me start over again. Allison Kay and Marty Bell did most of the heavy lifting in this match. We didn't see much of Melina. And ODB, her time in the ring was perfect, played to all her strengths. There was a little smoke and mirrors going on, but it wasn't shoved down our throats. Everyone looked good in the match, but we do have to point out that Kay and Bell did all of the work. Allison Kay is real damn good. She is really, really good at professional wrestling. We need to underscore that. She was fantastic. Ricky Starks, Aaron Stevens, and Colt Cabana fought in a triple threat match tonight that ended with Aaron Stevens becoming your new national champion. I liked how Stevens comes out and everyone's booing him. Then all of a sudden behind him pops out the question mark, who raises his arms and everyone starts to cheer, and he thinks the cheers are for him. I love that. I love this completely lost Aaron Stevens, who of course wrestled in his flesh-colored trunks. Cabana and Starks double team Stevens to begin with. Stevens then crawls off behind the commentary table. There's a good grappling sequence between Ricky Starks and Colt Cabana until Starks takes Cabana down with a flying crossbody that Cabana actually reverses into a pin attempt. Now there's some referee distractions here that happen. The question mark distracts the referee to allow Stevens to hit a low blow. But it's a triple threat match. And I mean, unless there's a discrepancy in the rules that we're all used to everywhere else, there's no disqualifications usually in a triple threat. So I don't know what was the deal with all these distractions. It sort of added a layer that wasn't necessary here. Question mark takes down Cabana on the outside so Stevens can get to work on Starks. He hits a nice snap suplex on Starks, but Starks fights back with a great sling blade. There's a couple of wrestlers in WWE who should be taking notes of that sling blade. The Faces hit some double atomic drops at some point on Stevens as well. Starks hits a shotgun drop kick on Cabana and lands in a senton position on a fallen Aaron Stevens. I thought that was good. His tornado DDT was really good as well. Cabana goes for the Superman cover, but he eats the spike to the throat by the question mark while the referee is distracted. Again, it doesn't matter. And you think that you think that Ricky Starks will be able to reverse out of it, but no. Stevens, who was hiding like under a riser skirt, little riser where the commentary is, while he was hiding under there, he sneaks his way into the ring, pins, and gets the pin, becomes the national champion. And I said it on Twitter, and I'll say it right here on the record. Change the strap color to flesh colored, you cowards. Make it happen, NWA. Customize that for Aaron Stevens. This was a fun match. I really, really dug this match. Had a lot of time to it. It was good. We have Dave Marquez talking with Tim Storm. One of the two refs before the match was saying basically, I've never refereed a match before, but I'm going to do it because I'm all about the NWA and I want to make it proud. Sounds fair. That's what we're moving into our main event, where Nick Aldis successfully defended the NWA World Heavyweight Championship against James Storm. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match. There were 2 referees assigned to this match, the first one being Brian Hebner. The second referee for the first fall is what I'm saying. The second fall was Tim Storm. And in the event that a third fall would happen, just in the event, you never know, it might not need one. There'd be a coin flip to determine who would referee that final pin. The first fall came fairly quickly. There was some back and forth between the guys until Camille comes out to distract Aldis, and Storm hit the last call, got the very first pin. On Aldis. So that happened fairly quickly. I liked how Storm just stayed on top of Aldis and started punching him. Referees had to pull him off. So we start the second fall and they brawl into the crowd. James Storm suplexes Aldis real hard onto the floor. And this is the floor. I'm not talking, there's not a mat. There's nothing. He just drops him right to the floor. And that was a legit thud. There was no thigh slapping. That was back on whatever it is. Joe Galli said it was concrete. It's probably some form of linoleum. Aldis whips Storm into the Christmas tree at some point, and I think it was pretty funny here because Stu Bennett was actually afraid about Storm getting electrocuted by the light bulbs. I thought was pretty funny. But Storm stayed in control for the majority of this second fall. Aldis fought back with an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. Storm hit the eye of the Storm, but Aldis kicked out. James Storm then goes for a chair, brings it into the ring, but Tim Storm talks him out of using it. Mama Storm's baby boy. He's the conscience of all the wrestlers in the NWA. He is the wrestling dad. Everyone listens to Tim Storm. This causes just enough distraction for Aldis to get a backslide on James Storm, but then James Storm gets out of it. There's a bit of back and forth in a small package where Storm tries to roll up Aldis, but Aldis sort of flips over and he gets the pin. And here's one thing here that I really, really liked, and that I've liked in NWA for the past, since it started. There's a lot of out of the blue roll up wins, and they've pinpointed here tonight in the story of this match again. There's a lot of surprise roll up pins, and this actually added to the drama of the third pin, because usually, when's the last time? That's not true. Let me start over. I was going to say something that was going to be false, but there's on a lot of the other promotions, let's say WWE, you don't see many out of the blue roll-ups actually working. And NWA, they end matches quite frequently, or at least more frequently than anywhere else. So when you see them, you actually get excited and you're like, this might actually happen, as opposed to like, he'll kick out. So there's the coin toss that happens, and Brian Hebner is going to be the referee for the third pin. There's a Michinoku driver by Aldis, a backstabber by Storm. I love how the pace really picked up in this third fall. You could really feel the sense of urgency for both guys. Aldis hits a superplex, covers Storm, who kicks out at 2. Aldis avoids the last call. Storm rolls out of the figure 4 attempt. And and this is followed by a couple of small package attempts that left me on the edge of my seat. I thought it was fantastic. Storm applies the figure four, like it's a car, right? He applies that. He applies the figure 4 himself, but Aldis gets out, and Aldis accidentally lariats Hebner down, so Tim Storm comes out to finish up the match. Aldis gets sunset flipped out of the corner, but as he's doing so, he yanks the top turnbuckle off. Storm covers him, folds him over to cover him. Aldis kicks out, which sends James Storm into the corner, the exposed turnbuckle. He hits his head there, and he drops. Whop. Like he's done. Aldis gets him into a Boston Crab, but James Storm is unresponsive. So Tim Storm ends the match, and Nick Aldis retains. I like this match. And here's something that I want to say to everyone out there who keeps saying on Twitter, I hate the flippy stuff. I can't stand the Young Bucks because of this. I can't stand the goofiness, why are people kicking out of super kicks and stuff like that? NWA is made for you. Because here a superplex can still end a match. Here, super kicks are dangerous. Viciously dangerous. They're match enders. The big moves come off as big moves, and they all seem threatening. So if, NWA not only leans into the old school formula of wrestling in its presentation, it leans into it as within its wrestling product itself. So if you ever hear that on Twitter anywhere, or if you're someone who doesn't care for it, never mind the stuff that you don't like. Come focus on what NWA is doing. This main event was great. It was really, really great. And I'm going to tell you something else on top of that. There's a lot of talk about NWA or alternatives. Yes. I'm delaying talking about you know who. I'm coming to it. I'm doing it on purpose. There's a lot of talk about alternatives to WWE, right? And a lot of companies, or at least one in particular, is positioning itself as an alternative to WWE. But what I saw tonight is truly an alternative to WWE. And it's an alternative to anything I'm watching right now as far as broadcast television. You know what I mean? It's on YouTube, but you guys know what I mean. Wrestling, as far as a weekly wrestling show. It's really like nothing else. The pay-per-view was essentially a bigger NWA Power. We're still in the studio. The undercard matches are short, they're punchy. And the main event, the main attractions, they're longer, they're more drawn out. There's more drama and more story to them. It's essentially that formula, and it's done at a pace that doesn't give you time necessarily to take a big breather and sit back or go to the bathroom. The pace, it's match after match after match, and there's always stuff happening. Every second counts in NWA. And that, because of all those reasons, to me, defines NWA truly as the real alternative to anything else that's being done on a weekly basis in wrestling right now. It really, really is. The style, the presentation, the execution, it's all there. So let's talk about the end of the show. Aldis gets a post-show promo. He says that the younger version of him would have said, "This is my ring, but this is our ring. It belongs to the NWA," kind of thing. And he says, "After tonight, I am confident that no man alive can take this from me." The lights go dark. And I'm like, it's the Butcher! No, I'm sorry. The lights go dark. A very familiar timbre of music is played, accompanied by the extremely familiar whoop whoop. Marty Scurll shows up, and the crowd goes bananas. Twitter goes bananas. Everyone just lost it. He comes down to the ring, or he walks down he walks down the stairs, gets to the ring. Aldis comes to meet them. They have a stare down, and that's how the pay-per-view ends. Boy, oh boy, there's a lot of people who are shocked by this. A lot of people thought that Marty Scurll's trajectory was clear to them. Marty Scurll, of course, was at Final Battle last night. I'm going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. He was at Final Battle last night, lost in a match. There were rumors that his contract was up and that he just had that date to honor. Weren't quite sure what they were going to do, what he was going to do after. Clearly, NWA is in his trajectory. A lot of people thought he was going to go meet up with his buddies. Now, we don't know what the status of his contract for NWA is either. We don't know what it is. Maybe he has the opportunity to play different fields. I don't know. You don't know. That's the point, and that's what made it exciting tonight to see him, because we don't know what's going on. So we'll see what happens as the weeks go on. But as it stands right now, I don't know why more people didn't see this coming. Just this April, Scurll challenged Aldis for the NWA Heavyweight Championship at the Crockett Cup. So it made sense. And it makes sense to see these two guys in the ring. They have history. They have that history. They actually started training together. So, but when they were in England. So there's a lot of stuff that you can tap into here to tell the Aldis Scurll story that is really, really interesting and is going to be refreshing. It's going to be nice to see, like, have Marty Scurll hanging around somewhere that doesn't have also Will Ospreay, and go back to that well. We're going to have a brand new well to sort of get some water out of. I think this is exciting. And I'm going to add another little something here. I talked about this on my show this Thursday, which you should watch. It's on this channel. Why don't you subscribe if you're not already? I talked about Marty Scurll's next move, what it could potentially be. And everyone was so convinced that he'd go meet his friends. I posited the hypothesis, complete theory, that maybe, just maybe, Marty Scurll isn't in that much of a rush to go meet his friends. Because right now, let's be honest, in AEW, it's stacked right now. I don't see where Marty Scurll could fit in really, really easily without bumping someone off, without bumping someone off, like this is going to murder him, moving people off of the card. Right now, the Bucks, Cody, Omega, they're all on the top. Adam Page, he's floundering a bit, but they're going to find a direction for him. Heel turn incoming. That's my prediction. Where does he go there? And it reminds me a lot of when the Outsiders left WWF to go to WCW and form the NWO. And then Sean Waltman, X-Pac, 123 Kid, Six, whatever you want to call them. When he moved over there, everyone was saying, well, Shawn Michaels is going to end up there as well because they're all friends. Why wouldn't Shawn Michaels want to go to WCW and get the big paycheck and the reduced amount of dates? Why wouldn't he want to do that? But he didn't. Probably because Michaels saw what was going on over there and said, how am I going to fit in? I have it made here. And that's kind of Marty. I'm pretty sure Marty Scurll's not an idiot. And if I'm Marty Scurll, if I'm in his shoes, I also have a good amount of buzz. I am an indie darling. Wherever I end up, it will create buzz, interest. Maybe I should go fiddle around in other pools before jumping into the ocean with the other sharks. You know what I mean? I think it's a good move, regardless of how you see it. I think it's a great move by Scurll to do this. He can still end up in AEW. That's not the question. I'm not saying he's never going to be there. He can still end up there, but he's adding to his prestige. He's adding to his name, his value. If he becomes a real draw in NWA, well, that's a little more negotiation power that he can bring when he heads on over back to anywhere else, AEW included. And it's a brilliant move on NWA because they are clearly still connected with what is going on the independent circuit right now. They know who the indie darlings are. They know who the indie stars are. They know who hasn't been signed and who has been signed. And they're not going to be just the old school wrestlers. They're going to go get fresh faces, newer stars that have that buzz about them, and bring them in. So to me, it's also a good sign of awareness in regards to NWA. I like the show for the reasons that I gave you. It really felt like a real alternative. Man, it is so great to have a pay-per-view feel satisfied watching a good pay-per-view. 2.5 hours later, it's done. I like this. Give me more of that. Told you we talk about Ring of Honor real quickly. Go over the results a bit. In the pre-show, we had Dalton Castle and Joe Henry versus Silas Young and Josh Woods. Young and Woods defeated Henry and Castle. We also had Kenny King. We had Kenny King defeating Rhett Titus, which I saw a little bit of. It looked pretty hard-hitting. I liked it. But I watched Dan Maff versus Jeff Cobb. I watched the pre-show a little distractedly, quite honestly. But Dan Maff versus Jeff Cobb caught my interest. This was a good, hard, slappity-slapping fight. I liked it. Jeff Cobb defeated Maff, which was a good decision. Because if you're not hanging on to Marty Scurll, if you being Ring of Honor, if you have been unable to maintain Marty Scurll in your midst, push Jeff Cobb. Speaking of Marty Scurll, he and Flip Gordon were defeated by Flamita and Bandito. This would clearly come off as a self-fulfilling prophecy here. I thought this match was really good. It was my favorite match of the night. It was a great way to kick off the pay-per-view officially. And everyone just delivered here. It was so good. So good. I wonder what's going to happen with Flip now. I really do. Vincent defeated Matt Taven. This was fine. I think it continued. Obviously, they're continuing their feud, which is a good idea. This was a fine match. It was solid, well executed. Nothing to say. Love the angle at the end. Love the angle at the end where they basically, what was the they have Bateman come over and they do, what's that movie? A Misery. They do the Misery thing on Matt Taven's ankles. Basically putting a block of wood and slap. You've seen that movie, right, guys? Mark Haskins defeated Bully Ray, and this was dull as a post. And at this point, it was the longest match of the evening, and it was so plodding and dull. I did not care for it. Alex Shelley defeated Colt Cabana. Colt Cabana shortly afterward announced that he was done with Ring of Honor, that he was moving on. Tonight on Into the Fire, loses the national title. Ooh, there's a lot of interest if you're asking your boy here. I'm very, very curious as to what his next step is here. Just because he lost, I mean, it's just a question of circumstance at this point, because he loses the title on one, says he's done. He loses a match on one pay-per-view on a Friday. He says, I'm done with the company. Loses the title on another pay-per-view in another company on a Saturday. We don't know what's going on. Very, very interesting stuff. Maria Manick beat the shit out of Angelina Love, and I am okay with this for many reasons, but we're going to stick to the principal reasons. That's because Maria Manick is a star. Sean was telling me last night when we were doing the SmackDown preview, he post-show, he told me about the match. He said it's fantastic. She squashes her. She just dominates her. And I saw it, and it was real dominant and real good. And Maria Manick comes off as $1 million. It was so good. It was a perfect squash match. If anything, my only quibble, too long. It was just a little too long. But Angelina Love got nothing in this. But if I'm Ring of Honor, and again, I lost Marty Scurll, I can't seem to keep my people, I am strapping a rocket to Maria. I'm putting her in intergender matches. I don't care. She has everything to be a huge star. Angelina Love is trash. Let me really quickly here. Dragon Lee defeated Shane Taylor for the television championship. And this was really good too. This was another fantastic match. Really good. Again, there's rumors that Shane Taylor is also done with Ring of Honor, and we couldn't ask for a better way to leave the company. This match was great. Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham defeated the Briscoes to become the tag team champions. This was good as well. Briscoe's not as wild as they usually are. It wasn't as wild as it usually can be, but this is good. I liked it. It was a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. As opposed to the main event where PCO became Ring of Honor World Champion by defeating Roosh. This was the opposite of the Smoke and Mirrors match that I was talking about earlier in NWA. This was a Smoke and Mirrors match that was made to protect and hide PCO's shortcomings, his age, whatever you want to call it. And boy, oh boy, they could have shaved 10 minutes off this match. It never felt like anything special. It didn't lock into anything. I mean, because basically a PCO match is he takes stupid amounts of punishment, right? That's essentially it. It was just too long. I think there was a pretty big mismatch here. And it's good on PCO for reinventing himself, coming back to a business that had effectively written him off. It's a big deal, and he has to be happy about that. And he has to be happy to finally win a world title in Ring of Honor. That's good. I'm good for him, but it's still all very questionable booking decisions here. Hey, thank you all very much, everyone, for joining me this evening here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes for the Fightful NWA Into the Fire post show. Leave us a thumbs up here if you liked it. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, because there might be more stuff popping up over here. Sean and I, we're going to see how things keep going forward. We're going to try our best to keep you guys, give you guys the content that you know and love over at Fightful until the Fightful YouTube channel comes back. So we can't thank you enough for your support. Keep tweeting out to YouTube and on Twitter. Let them know that you want Fightful back. I sure do. Well, Fightful's not gone. The Fightful YouTube channel is what I meant. Fightful's not going anywhere. Again, thank you all so much, everyone. And I'll see you next time.